You guys know I love the Quad Cortex. I've been using it for over 2 years. It's really awesome. But lately, I've switched to using a Line 6 Helix to see what all the hype was about. And honestly, there are some pretty cool features in here that I wish were in the Quad Cortex. Some of them are small and some of them probably don't matter in the grand scheme of things, but a few of them had me thinking that if there was a way to combine this and this, then we'd probably have the ultimate modeler. So here are the 5 Helix features I wish the Quad Cortex had, counting down from least to most important. The Helix has a feature where a whole ring of light lights up around a foot switch instead of just like a little dot light like what you see on most pedals in the Quad Cortex. Does this affect your tone? Absolutely not. But I think it looks a lot cooler, and I think it makes it a little bit easier to find the foot switch you're trying to engage. Is it purely aesthetic? Maybe, but sometimes those things matter, and that might be a difference maker for you on a dark stage. All right, number 4 may not be the most exciting feature, but if you've ever pressed on the wrong switch, then I think you'll get it. The Helix is definitely bigger than the Quad Cortex, and with that comes more spacing in between the buttons. Now, I always thought I was pretty precise with how I was hitting the buttons on my pedals, but the Quad Cortex told me that I'm not, because when I got that unit, at least for the first couple times I used it, I was definitely hitting the wrong button every now and then. It wasn't like every time kind of thing, but it took me a little bit to get that muscle memory built up to where I kind of knew how to like precisely angle my foot to hit that button. Now, if you saw my video last week, then you know that I actually do prefer the size of the Quad Cortex. I like that it's smaller, but with the Helix being bigger is a positive. There is that comfortable spacing between the foot switches, which is something that I think that, did that rhyme? Switches. Anyway, that's something that I know a lot of you appreciate because I've seen you guys in the comments talk about the button spacing. This next one is way more practical, and it actually saved me with some funky key changes. The polycapo feature on the Helix is seriously useful, especially for songs where tuning down just makes more sense or would make life easier. Because, you know, sometimes when you change the key of a song, the voicings don't really work anymore, and you can't just use a capo to fix it because, like, I don't know, if we went to E flat, like, what are we gonna do? Capo up here on 11 to play in the key of E? Like, no, we're not gonna do that. I don't know, maybe we're gonna do that, but we're not gonna do that for the sake of this. I used the polycapo live once when we were playing a song that's originally in drop D, but then we tuned the key down from D to C, so I didn't have enough time in between songs in order to tune my guitar down to drop C or switch my guitar out for a guitar already in drop C, so I threw the Helix polycapo on and dropped it down a whole step, and it worked pretty awesomely. I even asked the music director afterwards, I didn't tell him beforehand, and I was like, hey, you know, I used polycapo to tune my guitar down a whole step on that song, did you notice? And he was like, no, I thought it sounded awesome. Now, if you were to listen in isolation, you might hear a little bit of that pitch shifting going on, but in context, I think it more than gets the job done, and at least right now, I think it sounds a little bit cleaner than transpose on the Quad Cortex. I want you guys to take a listen for yourself. What I have going here is just basically a clean sound going through the Helix, and then we'll engage the polycapo and tune it down a whole step. I'm engaged. Now this next one might be a little more subjective, but if you're into ambient playing or big soundscapes like I am, then I think you'll see where I'm coming from. I really love the Helix reverbs, and it's not just that there's more variety, but it's the quality of the ambient stuff. Like all those big modulated textures in the Helix, I think are pretty on par with the Strymon Big Sky. Now, are they the same? I don't know, maybe not, but are they competitive? Absolutely yes, and that's saying something. I've gotten the reverbs in the Quad Cortex to sound really good, but the Helix reverbs seem to have just like a little extra sparkle. It's hard to put a word on it, but it's like, I don't know, there's like more depth or character to the texture. I don't really know. It's just got that little extra 10-20%. I think the best way I can equate it is that when I finally got my Helix preset dialed in and I played through the reverbs and whatnot, like I felt joy in a way that I hadn't experienced in a long time. Like, it definitely reminded me of playing through my pedals into my amp rig. If you're a worship guitarist or someone who just enjoys playing through ambient textures, then I think the Helix verbs will speak to you as well. All right, now here's the big one. The Helix delays are the real deal. Playing on it reminds me a lot of playing on my Strymon Timeline, or even the Eventide Time Factor, if anyone remembers those. For those who don't know, it was a dual delay pedal and it had 2 rows of knobs, so you could control the parameters of each delay individually. It was pretty cool. This is like pre-H9, H90 times. And also, wow, that hair. What a time. Anyway, the Quad Cortex delays sound really, really good, especially in isolation. But in context, when I have like reverb, drive, modulation, whatever else I have going on, because, you know, I like to play with a lot of effects, they tend to get a little swallowed up. Like, they don't cut through quite the same way as when I'm using my pedals. Now with the Helix, those delays do seem to cut through, and they can also be, you know, more swallowed up if that's the tone you're going for. It's all in how you dial it in. And when it comes to the modulated delay sounds, which I really love, I think that stuff's super good. Like, I'd say it's on par with some of my favorite delay pedals out there. And I'm not just saying they're good enough. Like, I do really love them. Okay, one more bonus one. This one's kind of dumb, but it's also pretty real. When I play on the Helix, it just feels a little more legit. Like, when I look down, I'm like, oh, okay, cool, it's a big spaceship looking board, kind of like what I'm used to with my pedal board. Whereas with the Quad Cortex, it's so small and sleek and clean that it kind of feels like I need more things down there, like I'm leaving myself exposed or something. You know, it's probably just my own insecurity because I'm so used to playing behind a big pedal board that I'm like putting this tiny little device down. Okay, that's too small, but I'm putting this device down and people are like, what is that? This guy doesn't know what he's doing. I don't know. It's stupid, but I feel like some of you probably relate. So those are the 5 features I wish the Quad Cortex had. Now, don't get me wrong, I think the unit is amazing as is, but if it did have these features, I think we'd be looking at the ultimate modeler. Let me know what you think the best features of the Quad Cortex and the Helix are, and if you missed the first part of this series where I went over the 5 Quad Cortex features I wish were in the Helix, I'll put a link to that video in the description, and, you know, maybe the video will be like floating around my head by now, so you can just click it there. Thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll catch you next time.